join us. Rias is the Vice President of Transformation, Integration, Project Management, and Continuous Improvement at Caesars Entertainment. He is an accomplished strategist, business and digital transformation expert, operational excellence leader, and program and change management leader. He is a book author and an industry award winner with a track record in increasing profits and delivering strategic initiatives. He's recognized for his ability to help strategize business architecture, identify areas to improve processes and operational outcomes, turn around, champion continuous improvement efforts, deliver challenging cross-functional programs, lead and coach winning teams, and ultimately inspire staff to welcome change and deliver ambitious results. Rias, my friend, it's a privilege to welcome to the conference, and we're very much looking forward to your insights and presentation.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for having me. I guess I want to take you back at 30,000 feet level to the, how you can position your IT infrastructure and cloud strategies for success. It's probably less on the technical side, but more on the how and what. So I want to kind of ask first, like, why we want to do all of this, why we're changing the IT infrastructure, why we're investing in cloud strategies. I guess many of us would like to change. We want to change things for the better. We want to change to win. And this is the title of my book, Change to Win, which is now on pre-sale on Amazon and many other book selling platforms. It's about change to win. We want to change to improve. We want to change to add value to our companies. And again, like, this is what I talk about in my book. I encourage you to check it out. You can go to riasattar.com or to Amazon Kindle. But again, like, why do we need to change in the first place? I guess I want to go back to Darwin, right? So Darwin once said, it's not the most intellectual nor the strongest of the species that survive, but the most adaptable to change. Think about it. Think about how, the dinosaurs were like big and strong, but they were among the first to disappear when the environment changed because they could not adapt fast. So same thing here. The big companies, they think that there's nothing anymore called too big to fall, because no matter how big you are, the environments are changing fast. So we need to adapt and move quickly. So the thing is, change is not easy. Change is difficult. And if you think about where we are now, I think most of the Fortune 500 companies no longer exist from the date they were established, or the ranking has established was 1955. But again, like, those are the big companies. So what about like the smaller companies or mid-cap companies? I mean, they're probably sharing a similar fate. So and the reason why they couldn't do it is because they were resisting to change, or they could not change fast enough. We face change every day. We are part of a constant change. So as you know, market conditions, customer demands, technologies, which we talk about today, competitive pressure, input costs, mergers and acquisitions, creating those big companies that overshadow everybody else. And of course, crisis and catastrophic events like COVID-19. So we face changes every day, but what do we do about it? It's just we need to embrace change, and we need to get out of that comfort zone that we live in. And usually the comfort zone is where you feel happy and safe and familiar with the processes and technologies. And I stress on technologies because, again, like, you cannot improve your technologies and IT infrastructure or move to cloud without the adoption of your executive, of your senior executives. And this is like, usually they're happy in their place, like, okay, it's working. Why do we need to change it? And this is kind of where you have to kind of, okay, give them the future state, which is like the growth. But between the comfort and the growth, there's this danger zone. It's like, oh, wait a second, if you have to change this, we're going to be unfamiliar with this process, or it's going to create a kind of a fearful status or stressful status where those executives and even people in the organization will say, no, I want to go back to the previous technologies. and it's very easy for people to switch back. So we have to kind of keep pushing forward to go to the learning zone, which then those executives and people start to realize the opportunity, and then to the growth zones. And this is kind of where the cloud and IT infrastructure plays a difference, because you're setting up the process and the foundation for future generations and future years, not about what's today. It's about for future. So this is what we did a few years ago at Caesars. We looked at our IT infrastructure and looked at what we just found. It is that spider web that you can see on the screen, and we have like multiple front of the house, back of the house, and like all the other systems connecting to each other in a very complicated way. And just imagine the efforts, the cost, the number of hours needed to just maintain and make sure that everything works in the spider web. So what did we do? We moved to cloud, most of the processes that we have, and some of the functions were not ready for cloud. So it's not always easy, and I'll talk about this in a bit. But some of the functions or departments or tools or systems, it was no-brainer. We just moved to cloud. But some of them were not ready, so we created an enterprise service bus where it kind of connects sometimes those systems together, and we put RPAs in place and APIs to connect those different systems. It was not always an easy integration between those cloud systems. Sometimes it is one-to-one and it's easy, but most of the time it was not that easy. So this is kind of just a high level of what we have done in the past at the company. The key important topic here is just to always focus on scalable. Just scalable platform, not just something that would work today, just something that can be replicated. It has capacity to grow as well in the company and to adapt to the marketplace environments. So okay, so now we put the strategy together, we put the structure together, we want to do it, and then we start to put those efforts. And guess what? 70% of all those efforts fail. It is statistics. It's not me saying this, it's statistics. 70% of all initiatives and projects and objectives fail. And why? Because there are always something missing about either the delivery mechanism, the strategy itself, or the culture. In order for you guys to deliver your ambitious results, you have to have some sort of equilibrium, or maybe a balance between those three-legged stools. See how those legged stools on my screen now, where you see like most of the leaders and the companies focus on the strategy. Okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. This is a beautiful strategy. But then their delivery mechanism is suboptimal. They don't have a project management mechanism that is strong enough. They probably do not have maybe agile or a mix of agile and waterfall in place for different projects. And it may not be a solid practice. Or maybe they have the delivery mechanism and the strategy, but they're missing the culture piece, which is extremely important. Having people to adopt and accept the change and practice change management and improve the culture and invest in the people's capabilities for your IT infrastructure and your migration to cloud is as important as the strategy itself. So having those like three-legged stools in a complete harmony would position you for success. And this is what I would like to see at three-legged stools, honestly, which I think most of you would. So okay, so how do we realize the positive results that we want to seek, including the successful IT transformation and cloud strategy? Going back to the basics, people, process, technology, and data. So I'm gonna talk about those in the next few slides, but I want to start with data. So everything starts with data. Deming once said, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I can't agree more with Deming. And now data is everywhere. Actually, we have way too much data. So when we look at data, data is really power. Data starts with just facts and numbers and characters. That is just a basic form of data. Then we move and then we transfer that data to information. So we aggregate the data, we put it together, and then we process it, and that kind of creates some sort of new shape of the data that provide us information, which we transform to knowledge. So once we transform to knowledge, we start to understand what the data is all about, and then we create a decision, which is a wisdom, and that wisdom is based on this aggregated experiences and knowledges. So why I'm saying this, because usually, we kind of stuck in the analysis and the information, but we don't really put enough efforts on making that decision and moving to that knowledge phase. Now, in recent years, as I mentioned, I mean, there has been an explosion of data, or an expansion of data, I mean, faster than ever before. So Hooper Simon said once, it's the data can create distraction, because the wealth of information, if you have way too much information, it creates poverty of attention. So your focus may not be really ideal. So this is why you need to make sure that when you're working with data, you're not just scattered. You need to be focused 100% and always focus on target. And this is what AI is doing now. I mean, until recently, wisdom, as I mentioned a couple of slides before, was actually uniquely attached to humans. But now it is machine learning and artificial intelligence are able to kind of replicate to a decent level what humans have been doing for tens of thousands of years, right? So machine learning and artificial intelligence, you may want to invest in that in your IT infrastructure, and utilize cloud, because this is kind of where cloud is strong. I mean, those cloud technologies these days are able to utilize artificial intelligence. Most of the cloud providers now have AI embedded in them, and this is kind of where AI would save you money, would save you time, would again replicate many tasks that humans have been doing for many years, and potentially save labor, and maybe potentially have those labor focus on something different and something more meaningful. So when I talk about AI, again, I mean, it's just very basic. When we talk about AI, it starts with a what if algorithm, just a basic what if. Then the next level is a business intelligence, where there is some sort of, again, aggregation of information that is put in graphs and summaries and dashboards and projections and so on and so forth. And then the next level would be machine learning, where the machine can actually work on the data without interference from humans. And then the cognitive automation, which is the highest level of artificial intelligence, and this is where the machine would utilize NLP and data mining, and then you have something like, for example, RPA that can be utilized again to help you with your IT infrastructure. So if you're faced with difficulties trying to connect different cloud solutions or cloud and legacy systems, you may want to utilize some of those AI technologies, and I'll talk about this in a bit later. So here we go. So with RPA, for example, I'm just giving you one example, which is RPA here. We used it to connect different technologies that we were not able to link together, whether they're cloud and legacy, or two clouds or two legacy. We were able to utilize RPAs to connect these systems together, where we could have not do it in the past, or we couldn't do it with APIs. So this is kind of have been proven very successful. I encourage you to try it, because this is kind of where I think you can utilize this tool to enable you to deliver your cloud optimization. Again, RPA is very important and helpful when the process is manual, it's rule-based and repetitive. So you'll be able to run in the background without any interference of human beings. Okay, so let's talk about technology. So when I think what we always seek from technology is to create more value with less efforts, right? This is what kind of technologies help us to do. So we want to try to innovate and take educated risks. So we want to try to avoid suboptimal digital solution. We want to create some sort of like a scalable solution that would help the customers and at the same time get their input, get the customer's input, the voice of the customer, we call it. We want to understand what they want, and then we create that, as I mentioned before, the scalable solution, the scalable digital solution that would actually be applicable to whatever we're doing. And sometimes when we say applicable, sometimes moving to cloud on everything you have may not be feasible. Maybe it's very expensive. Maybe the technology is not ready. So I would encourage you to move to cloud and replace legacy systems when feasible. And when I say when feasible, sometimes we're just throwing way too much money on something that may not be ready, or it may be super expensive, and it may not be feasible to do that endeavor. So think about what exactly you want to do and how scalable that is. In order to, again, what I mentioned is please the customers. Get that voice of the customers, try to meet their expectations, try to be more efficient, and not only for your current customers, but for future more savvy customers who are expecting more and expecting and have high expectations. They're very tech savvy and they want something quickly, and they want delivery quickly, and they want to return quickly, and they want everything quickly. So be ready for that future state. In order to increase the value, again, with less efforts, this is what I mentioned earlier. We want to boost productivity and increase efficiency and have a faster, again, when I talk about data, faster data collection, processing, retrieval, and analysis, right? So again, utilize automation or artificial intelligence if you can. I cannot stress enough about this next one, which is avoid increasing technical debt. Again, we try to push everything on the shelf, and we say, you know what, we'll do this later, or we'll do it, but we'll do it quickly, and we put like band-aids on, and that creates technical debt. When we kind of, we make bad shortcuts just to make it work, and sometimes actually that works for short term, but you may want to try to avoid unnecessary complexity that would add and errors that would add technical debt for the future. So again, think about that technical debt. Try to avoid that technical debt when you're configuring your IT infrastructure and cloud strategy and your future technological structure. Focus on what really matters. Choose wisely, not just overcrowding your efforts with many solutions that maybe will present conflict, if I have to say. And one more thing, which is also extremely important, I believe, sometimes we just do so much. We overload the company and the IT department and many other departments with so many initiatives that we are kind of biting more than we can chew, and that kind of create distraction of efforts and anxiety and stress, and eventually may not really help us to achieve our goals. So when we say achieving goals, it should also be all focused on a harmonized digital roadmap. I think you may want to start with a harmonized roadmap where those technical solutions all link together and work together. And again, sometimes you may not have those ready today. Maybe you start with the incremental efforts that will just put all those technologies together and maybe link them with again, like RPAs or APIs or whatever. But then eventually your future state would be like, okay, those cloud solutions would interface directly without a middleman. So think about that future harmonized digital work roadmap. And I think the last one I want to talk about in technologies is that try to, yes, leverage consultants and because they have the knowledge, but build your internal talent. It is critical to have people in your organization that understand the technologies, understand what we're trying to do, and then be there with you when you're evolving and build that internal capabilities. I found that to be very hard these days. I mean, most of those smart tech IT people would usually like to go and work with like Google and Amazon and Facebook. They you know, these big great companies, they attract the best talent. So it's also very hard to build the talent and retain the talent. So you may want to always have this treasure chest of talent in your organization that is capable of going and helping your technical infrastructure for the future. Okay, let's talk about process. So okay, we figured out the data, we figured out the technology, and how now it's about the process. So Jordan once said, you can practice shooting 8 hours a day, but if your technique is wrong, then all you become is very good at shooting the wrong way. So what I mean is sometimes we our efforts are not designed well. We have a suboptimal project management office, or we have suboptimal um, delivery mechanism, uh, program management, Scrum, whatever the technology, whatever the efforts that we have, and sometimes we just create too much complexity and introduce bureaucracy without knowing, and sometimes that makes it even more complicated and would result a lot of resistance from your customers. The customers are not your only external customers, but your internal customers, your other departments, your other leaders. So try to enforce governance, but try to reduce bureaucracy. I think that will be my advice. Always seek safety first, safer, better, faster, and then maybe cheaper. So safety comes first, because if we are introducing a new cloud strategy and a new IT tool, but it's not safe for the company. It has loopholes. It may create backdoors for hackers. It's not good, because you create more problems than benefits. So safety is always first. Focus on safety and data security and so on and so forth. Okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about when it talks about processes is resource and time are so precious. So don't waste them. Just put them to work on the right thing. Avoid, again, overloading your customers with too many initiatives. I'm just talking about those from like lessons learned that we have seen that had kind of slowed us down, or had created suboptimal results. So maybe we can in the future realize and understand from postmortems. And again, I'm sure just sharing with you some of those items. Sometimes we may want to try to deliver incremental results and values versus waiting for perfection. I think this is what Agile and Scrum is all about. But again, I think this is important, because we usually just want to do it always perfectly, which is good. We don't want to upset the customers, but also sometimes it's important to give iterative improvement to whatever you're doing. So don't be afraid of going and improve iteratively. Avoid gold plating. So don't try to make everything shiny and gold and with unnecessary. You just want to kind of just deliver the value and do it. So don't try to pass a hot potato. Just it's not my problem, it's this problem. It's not their problem, it's the other people's problem. Just own it and do it. Try to avoid the band-aids when possible, as I mentioned before. And listen to your customers. Don't think that your customers. Or continue listening to them. They sometimes they change priorities quickly. And again, your customers are not only your end users or consumers, but also your internal organization customers, like your peers, the people who use the systems, and so on and so forth. Okay, and again, one more thing, which is about avoid superficial improvement, which is sometimes we think that we improved, but we actually did not. So we want to try to make sure that we avoid those shiny objects that kind of distract us from the goal. We focus on the goal, we do the improvement, and then we kind of incrementally deliver as much as possible. Okay, I think there are a couple of more elements here, such as if you feel that there is a project or initiative that is there's a new technology coming and you already invested a lot, for example, you may want to kind of evaluate the feasibility, and maybe just put a sunset criteria for some initiative or some initiatives that may not be relevant anymore. So don't be afraid to stop initiatives that no longer fit the overall objectives, even if you're mid course. Now, I'm not saying you should. It depends on the circumstances. It could be the case where those initiatives or those systems or those solutions may evolve, and the supplier may evolve. But sometimes a whole new technology comes in place, and then wait a second, I mean, now the whole future looks different. So you may want to adapt, you may want to put a sunset criteria, and then you may want to change your perspective mid-course. Okay. All right, so I want to talk about people next, which is, I think, very important and almost always missed, because we focus too much on the strategy, we focus on the technologies, we focus on the delivery mechanism, but we forget the people. And those are the most important stakeholders you have. You know, the people who uses the technology, the people who will help you build the technology, the people who review the technology, the people who maintain the technology. All of those are people. So you need people, and you need to make sure that the people are and you address the people aspect. So what does culture, when you transform your IT, you have also to transform the culture. So what does that look like? Honestly, the strategy is as good as the people who implement that strategy. And the people are only as good as culture that allows them to be. And the culture is only as good as the leaders who form that culture. So it goes in that sequence. The good leaders would put it starts at the top. So the good leaders would make this culture of fair and integrity and passion and future looking, and build that culture foundation, which is like diversity and welcoming and inspiring and so on and so forth. So that culture then inspires the people, who then give it 110% and able to collaborate with each other to successfully deliver strategies and profitability. So again, it starts at the top. And one more thing, I think we almost always miss on change management. And change management is a whole other practice that, again, many companies fail to realize its importance, because usually we focus on the delivery, on the project management, and okay, here's what we're going to do, and here's when we're going to do it, and here's how much it's going to cost us, and here's the end state. But we forgot the change management, and then we realize we need to change, but at the 11th hour. So this is kind of, you know, typically on the screen how it typically shows and happens in the market, where different companies, where change management is happening like during or the end of execution of the project, where it actually should be like this. The change management and project management go in tandem. You know, they're aligned, one step at a time, because what we want to seek is always this awareness and desire and knowledge, and then ability and reinforcement. When I look at ability, I think this is the most important element in change management. So think about you made your people aware, you inspire that desire, you give them the knowledge, but they cannot do it. They have the knowledge, but they cannot do it. Think about if you, I gave that example in a previous presentation. If you want to operate an open heart surgery, I can give you 17 books, 117 books on how to do it perfectly. And you will acquire the knowledge, and you have the desire, and you're aware that you need to do it. But the ability to do it is so different from the knowledge. So you have to practice. You have to practice again and again. You may need to have a mentor. For many years, again, in this example, to do it, to have an open heart surgery or to perform an open heart surgery. But just to acquire the knowledge is not enough. So I'm just giving you that example quickly. Okay, I also want to highlight the importance of diversity. Diversity is extremely important. It's almost always missed as well. We should have that as part of all corporate visions, because it actually increased the the horizon. It broadens the horizon. It increases the vision and improves the capability of any company, because it creates businesses that better suits different stakeholders and represent the whole world around us. And it has proven to increase bottom line. So and so again, diversity is very important. Please pay attention to diversity and your culture, and that's as part of your IT infrastructure and IT efforts. Whether honestly, whether it's IT or business, it doesn't matter. People is almost always the most important element in any strategy. So focus on that. Now, when we work with people, sometimes we face resistance. And with the resistance, it actually looks like this. About 25%, 10 to 25% of the people who are almost always with you. No matter what you do, they will clap and they will tell you, go, we're with you. About 10 to 25% of the people are almost always against you. They don't want to change, they hate change, they're happy where they are, they want to live their life doing just exactly what they're doing. And then the majority of the people are somewhere in between. They're not sure. They should be, support or against. So what you should do is really focus on that middle section, the not sure one. Don't waste your time. Don't waste all of your time on support, on the people who support you, and don't waste most of your time on the people who are against you. Try to focus your time on the people who are not sure, because the people who are with you, they're always going to be with you, and the people who are against you, they're always going to be against you. But the people who are unsure, just try to move them to help you and to become supportive. And again, that's kind of what I talk about in my book, Change to Win. Please check it out on riasattar.com. I mentioned almost all those contents in the book, but in greater details. So I hope that you get inspired about IT transformation and kind of see it from a 30,000 feet level and apply those people, process, technology, and data element to your future IT efforts.
Outstanding as usual, Rias. Thank you very much. Such a comprehensive view of what it takes to do great implementations of IT strategies and cloud. So we have several questions that have come up here. I'll just pick a few of them. So the first one is from Jonathan Glennie, and Jonathan talks about, and it's more of a statement. He says digital strategy is very important and needs to be tied back to the organizational strategy and support according to what Rias said. That's just a statement. And his question is a follow-up to that. And he asks, can you address the technical debt involved with legacy systems and their migration to the cloud? So if you can talk a little bit about the technical debt related to technical legacy systems and migrations to the cloud.
Absolutely. So technical debt is usually when we try to fix the problem with band-aids. We try to have like shortcuts and put like codes to make it work, but usually it may not always be the best optimal solution. So when we're faced with legacy systems, and we have legacy systems are very expensive. They've been there for tens of years. Maybe depends on your company. But what usually happens is that every year there is a request from the users to do something, and we try to patch it. Okay, we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we do it quickly, because if we don't do it quickly, we would lose customers, we would lose sale, we would lose production, we would lose whatever we have. So we try to make it quickly, and that technical debt is accumulating, because what we're doing is we're making it too complicated, and we're creating codes that are suboptimal, that may not really be the proper solutions. So what happens is then now your legacy system is even worse than before. And then when you try to bring another cloud solution, it was like, okay, well, this cloud solution, I think this is the most difficult piece. Is we always think about, we want to replicate in the new cloud solution what we have done in the legacy system, and what we have fixed for many years, and it's almost always impossible. So sometimes you have in your new cloud solution, you may want to say, in the past, you've been trying to do this and this and this and this, and this new environment, there are a few of those that you may not be able to do. And here's how you can do them differently. So I'm not saying you should do that all the time, but sometimes you may want or you may have to do it. You may have to say, no, we did like custom tailor everything for you guys over the past few years, but now this cloud is more like we want to kind of have a out of the box solution that kind of works good, because in the future every enhancement or update, it creates a lot of difficulties, because you have most of those would not really apply to your customization. It's not configuration, it's customization. When you do customization to your systems, you are changing the code, you're changing the infrastructure. Configuration is you're using the same solution, but you are just configuring your solution versus customization. So you want to try to avoid customization as much as possible. And this is kind of where I'm saying I'll try to avoid your technical debt so you're able to move to cloud without customization.
Very good, Rias. Rias, there are a number of comments here and questions related to that view from the executive floor. And so a lot of people, including a lot of people who are in this organization, they are not at the C level. They are operating, you know, with strategies and tactics that are very operational, that people who are around those strategies and tactics, they understand what needs to be done, but often they say there's a disconnect with what senior leaders understand and what they perceive. And so because of your experience, and you have had the privilege to work with senior leaders in multiple organizations, the question is, what is the best way of connecting with senior leadership between the vision that they have of how things work and actually how things work? And because there's so many competing priorities, there's so much politics going on in the organization, what would be some good suggestions for people to be able to influence senior leaders in a more effective way?
Yeah, that's kind of the it's the science and art kind of answer to this question. It's the science is that business leaders at the end of the day, they look at ROIs, right? You know, they look at, okay, well, tell me how much this can generate. And most of the time, your technical solutions are not the ones that generate ROI immediately. In the matter of fact, they may actually be more expensive. So I mean, if you're in the marketing department, you may say, okay, I have this whole beautiful campaign. We'll spend $1 million in this campaign, and it will generate $3 million in sales, or whatever, 30% of a return on investment in 1 year, and then 40% another year, and 50% another year, whatever. If you're in production, same thing. You say, okay, I'm going to add a new production line, and that will add new products. But in the IT infrastructure and IT work, most of the time, unless you can prove it with efficiency, it's like, okay, we can eliminate the whole department by creating this or adding this software, or we can reduce the number of people by adding, you know, this automated system. Unless you do that, usually you will not making money. Now, what you need to focus on is on the future, because what you can tell them is like, okay, today this system, whatever we're doing, may not really generate a lot of money, but in a few years your capabilities will be incrementally enhanced. You will be able to do this and this and this and this and that, and you will be ahead of your competition. You will be able, our customers will be happier. It is more of an indirect, most of the time it's indirect, not always, but sometimes it's more about push and pull. You're pushing the new technology and waiting, you know, for the customers and the users to pull and use it properly. So again, I guess this is kind of the science. The art is how. So how do you convince your business leaders? I think your business leaders, if they have a long term vested interest in the company, they would definitely be with you in your roadmap, but you have to have a good harmonized and scalable roadmap. If you are going there to the C-suite and you're a little bit hesitant, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're whatever you're presenting, it has not been presented very well, you lose them. And it's a matter of seconds. You take them, or you earn their trust, or you do not. And once you lose their trust, that's it. You cannot do it anymore. It's binary. Trust is either 0 or 1. So you either trust somebody or you do not trust somebody. I cannot say I trust it 95% of the time. So this is where I think it's important for us in all management levels, or to go with an open mind and show the future, the kind of the roadmap of capabilities. What this technology is going to help today, after 2 years, after 5 years, and how it interacts with and merge with other business functions, and make sure you hold hands with other business functions. I think this is almost always missed as well. IT leaders sometimes think that they should own the strategy and they should drive the strategy, and they forget that the people actually they need are the business alliance. So if you go to the C-suite alone, you may not really have the support, but if you have the marketing leader, the business leader, the HR leader, whoever leaders you're working with, holding hands and going together, it's like, we need this solution, and this is how it's going to look like, and this is when it's going to happen. I think this will help with adoption.
I love that answer. That's a very practical answer. Very good. If you allow me, I would also suggest, and tell me if you think that makes sense or not, that ultimately you want to reverse engineer who that leader is, meaning that you need to understand that leader's values, you need to understand his or her priorities, you need to understand his or her time horizon, as you said, because the behavior of a leader who is thinking long term for the company the next 10 years versus one who is thinking about how I'm going to cash out in the next couple of years is very different. So, and those pieces of information are not easy to get, right? The leaders will not tell you those things open. So you need to gather that intelligence. So reverse engineering the leaders is hard, but it's ultimately a good way of getting there, to understand what their priorities are. And what you just mentioned is a very good way of closing that gap, which is make alliances with other less senior leaders who have contact points with those senior leaders, and understand through them what's important to those leaders, and then make a coalition with those lower level leaders in approaching the top level leaders. Do you agree conceptually that reverse engineering those leaders is important?
Absolutely, spot on, Jose, spot on. If a leader is there for 2 years to turn around the business and go and get the bonus and retire on an island, good luck with having a 15-year technical infrastructure roadmap for them, right? They will tell you they really want to preserve the cash, and they want to do it do something more important just to boost the bottom line, and they don't want to touch the technology aspect. But if you have a leader who has a vested interest in the future of the company, and there for the long run, then yes, you think about all those companies who are either owned or have a lot of ownership in their businesses, and see their advancement, like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, all those companies, like it's Tesla. I mean, whether we like those leaders or not, but they have a vested interest, and they usually invest in the future because they really want a legacy. They want their company to grow, and I'm sure there are many CEOs that they just look long term. They wanna benefit the company for long term. But again, you were spot on, Jose. Thank you.
What you just added there is terrific, and this is so important because the context of this presentation is not only technology but the connection from the C-level. So I want to spend a little more time on that, and what you just said is so critical. Every one of those leaders and organizations that you talk about, they have a long-term horizon, and unfortunately that is not the most common horizon that we have in organizations.
No.
The average CEO in North America stays on their role about 3 years.
That's
okay,
right.
so they're not talking about the purpose of transforming the world in the next decade. They are thinking they're either going to cash out or get fired within 3 years. So
right.
so you have to be and those are the realities of organizations that we need to understand. And I think that that comment you made is so important about that time horizon and the purpose driven person or not. You know, there's someone I work with who says that if you're in this, if the business is about sausage making, you need to understand from the CEO perspective what's important about sausage making. And the different CEOs will have very different perspectives on sausage making and what matters, and we need to reverse engineer that. So
Absolutely.
Rias, I can talk to you about this for the whole day, but unfortunately we're out of time now. I'm really looking forward to your book. When is it coming out? Remind me again.
November 10th. It will be produced November 10th, but now it's on pre-order. So if you go to the Amazon or Google or eBay or Barnes and Noble, whatever the platform that you prefer, you can actually order it now, and it will be delivered November 10th.
Change it to win from Rias Attar. The pleasure to always have you with us, Rias. Thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Jose.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's someone who does it. That's a leader who has seen. Nobody has seen it all, but he has seen a lot, and a lot of that knowledge is packed on his book that's coming up. And it's not about promoting his book; it's about promoting, because you have had a preview right here in this presentation. It's about promoting the work of those who write about subjects that they actually have worked on versus interview other people about. And leaders, Rias is a true hands-on executive leader of change and innovation. So what a pleasure to have here with us. So this concludes this segment. At the top of the hour, we will have the segment coming directly from India. Rahul Lodi, who is the leader for SAP Artificial Intelligence, is going to be talking to us about the role of artificial intelligence in enterprise infrastructure and cloud strategies as well. So again, keep on the conversation on LinkedIn. You can look up my name and look under LinkedIn and see the post that I have on this conference. Make questions there, commentary if it's useful to you, and we'll follow up on those as well. I'm going to be handing over the reins of the conference for the next couple of presenters to the capable hands of Brian Raffel, our conference leader, and he's going to be facilitating that directly from the UK. And it's been a pleasure being with you. I look forward to our next events together. And don't forget about BTOES from Home, the largest business transformation and operational excellence summit in the world for many years already. Is going to take place in November, and we'll bring the best of the best now, with dozens and dozens of the top speakers and companies in the world getting together for one major event in November. So look that up, BTOES.com. The agenda is already up, and it's very exciting to be part of that. And I'm very honored to announce that I will be the chairman and host for BTOES from Home. So thank you for now. I'll connect with you all later, and we'll restart the session at the top of the hour.